Hi, everybody. My name is David Malizia, and I head up the sales training here at Hawthorne Union. We've created a really beautiful sales training for you all called Rethinking Sales. I'm going to give you some of the little tips and tricks that I talk about in our full program, and hopefully it'll get you interested enough to join us in the upcoming months when we hold our additional classes. Joining me today is Diana Ideus as well.
Hey
Um,
everyone.
Hi. So let me just share out my screen for you real quick so you can take a look at this. These are my top 10 things every salesperson should consider. I call them the holy grail of sales. And number one, if you will, is to don't fear losing the sale. Now, what I mean by that is we all go into business going, I need to close this. I've got to get some revenue in the door. I've got to be able to justify, my expenses and get some higher return on investment, everything else, right? So we want to close business. We want to bring in revenue. But if we're thinking about if I don't do this, this is what's going to happen. If I don't do this, if this deal goes away, I don't know what I'm going to do. And this could potentially get us to a position where we are forcing things that we don't necessarily need to provide to our clients or prospects that aren't a good fit. Maybe it's not a good product. Maybe it's a higher discount than we really needed to. By being fearful throughout the sales process, it provides us with a kind of a negative aspect of things, right? Also, I talk about vibrations, right? If I have a good vibration day where I've got some good affirmations and I'm thinking about how positive things are, I'm going to see and feel positivity. If I'm thinking about, oh, if I don't close the sale, I'm not going to have any commissions, I'm not going to have any money, I'm not going to, all of that, you're going to start to feel those negative things a lot more often, right? So, Diana, what's your take on this and how this looks?
Yeah, so this to me also relates to from executive presence perspective. So much of how we show up, our level of confidence. Oftentimes people are struggling with imposter syndrome or may not feel confident. If you don't have confidence in yourself and what you're selling, or you can't project that level of confidence and make space for that kind of authentic interaction, that can be very difficult. And people will respond to that. Also, not everybody wants to buy your product. And it doesn't mean that you don't have a great product, doesn't mean you're not a great person. But at the same time, like it's not, they're not actually saying no to you. They're saying no to what you're selling. And sometimes no just means not right now. So if you're in a place where you walk in and you know that, unfortunately, some people are going to hang up on you. Some people are going to be rude or close the door in your face. And that says something about them and how they're reacting to you, but that's not necessarily about you. So knowing that that happens, so you don't take that personally, so that you can go in and say like, hey, this is something I believe in and I see a value and a need for this in the marketplace, can help you be more resilient.
Absolutely. And lastly, to that point, Diana, is it's not even that they may not want your product or your service, they may not be able to afford it. Just like you and other companies out there, we're going through a difficult time and some of the expenses have to be pulled back. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be approaching them, because if it's something that will truly change their lives, they should be able to find budget. And we'll talk about that down the road. Okay. Next thing, be the opposite of what you think a salesperson is. I mean, we all have that vision in our head of what a salesperson is. Salespeople have a negative connotation in the world. And as business leaders, we need to be able to kind of wipe that slate clean and say, listen, sales runs my business. Bringing revenue in is how I'm able to sustain myself. That doesn't make me a bad person just because I need to make a sales call, right? And if we are continuing to help people and solve problems and approach it in an authentic way where we're building relationships with people and helping them extraordinarily, that's really a good positive thing. So don't think of it as I am a pushy, greasy, slicked back salesperson. Think of it as I am a human who has a passion for the business and the work that I do, and I can provide a solution. And this is something I need to do. And I think that'll help us overcome a lot of the hesitancy to really hit the phone or to prospect in order to build our business and our revenue.
Yeah, something that's been really helpful for me with working with David, both from a sales training and sales coaching perspective, is looking at and his really that emphasis on relationship. So whether you're going in as a leader or a coach or just whatever your industry, looking at how are you listening to people? How are you authentically curious? How are you focused on something that could be mutually beneficial? Because if it's having someone you care about who brings up something and you have an idea that may be helpful to them or a resource that you want to recommend, that can be a way to kind of transition. I think a lot of times people think about sales like, oh, I have to turn off all these other things that have helped me be successful in my life so that I know how to sell, or I don't feel comfortable selling because they haven't been sold to in a way that they feel was authentic or reputable. So really just looking at like, how do you want to show up? How can you represent your product, but then also have it be relationship focused? And if you're not worried about losing a sale, then it just becomes a conversation about, hey, is this helpful? Do you know people this might be helpful for? Is there feedback you can provide to me about the market or the business or the pricing that can then help me better sell and kind of show up in the world? So if you focus on it from a relationship perspective and then also from an authenticity, I think the thing is if someone is very good at sales and feels that's authentic to them, they don't necessarily have to be the opposite. But the salesperson, there are stereotypes and bias, which is a whole different thing we can look at that you want to be actively conscious of and making sure that you're addressing, especially as you're leaning in and learning how to sell yourself.
Yeah, sure. And I think you made a direct link to the coaching that we do. And as I've gone through coach my coach journey, one of the things that I've really learned how to do, and I've grown this strength in myself, is to actively listen and ask additional questions that allow the other person to talk, and then therefore be able to really find out what that underlying pain point is as they're talking, and creating a more fluid dialogue between the two people. Right. So let's talk about the last part that I'm going to show you today. I've got 7 more of these, so please join us for some of our training down the road. I think it'll be really helpful for all of you. And if not, at least reach out to me and I can work with you on a one-on-one basis and talk about ways that we can improve. What you have learned in the past is wrong. Now, that's not me telling you to throw out spin selling or how to win friends and influence people, or some of the other books by Zig Ziglar, who is one of my favorite authors on the sales process. What I am saying is that over the course of the years, and we know that sales has been around forever. It's the oldest profession in the world. It has changed time and time and time again. It is still continuing to change, and every year we have new ways that we can approach sales. Most recently, I have really attached to the challenger sale, which is a way where we are presenting information to our clients and saying, we understand that this is a problem for you. We know that your leadership growth is something that is really important for you in order to sustain the entire organization. Here's how we can help you solve this. Right. So what we need to do is understand that some of the tactics in the past, some of the ways that we were dialing for dollars, some of the ways that we were being pushy salespeople, that stuff doesn't work. People don't want that anymore. People don't want a hard sale. People want to have a relationship build. And we want to know that the information that we're providing to them is going to be helpful, useful, and positive in every sense of the manner. And say hello to my dog, who decided to make a cameo in this video today. So Diana, take that away from me.
Yeah, so I think it's about we want to look at innovation and then also curiosity. So if you're choosing Hawthorne Union to continue on or even start or deepen your sales knowledge and your sales journey, you're looking at it from a coaching perspective, from a relationship perspective. That's not a lot of focus based on kind of the more traditional sales. So given David's experience looking at how can the traditional model serve you, but then how do you need to change and innovate to make sure that it's matching the market now, your customer now, your product now. And,
Yeah.
what are you learning? So much of, for those of you, whether it's you're focused and you've learned about us from a leadership development perspective or from a coach development perspective, you're likely here watching this video because you want to learn something, you want to change something, you want to be better. So what in your past has served you and how do you build it? But what do you also need to let go to make sure that you can be successful? There's a lot of, fear, stigma, fear of scarcity out there as people think about sales, but scarcity is also a sales tactic that can be leveraged. So what in your past is serving you and what in your past isn't serving you? And that's a very coaching question that we want to take a look at, whether you listen to David's podcast or meet with him individually or attend the training. We want to make sure that we're building you and your sales acumen and supporting your success.
Absolutely. And Diana, you've done a great job of kind of tying in these different points. And as I mentioned before, I've got plenty more of my holy grail of sales, or the 10 commandments, if you will. And I hope that you will join us in the next couple months as we continue to offer sales training for coaches and for people who just want to improve their their outcomes. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today, Diana, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Thank you.